What's up, you guys? Welcome to Walk the Line. Obviously, there's not a lot of UFC action taking place over the next couple of weeks, but that's not going to stop me from hopping on the mic and previewing some of the big fights that are on the horizon. Because you guys know, when these cards start to kick off, we're going to be very excited. Even that first fight card that's headlined by Mackenzie Dern and Amanda Ribas, that card isn't the most stacked of cards. The main event's not the best fight. I saw the first fight live, okay, so I'm very familiar with that matchup there, but when that card kicks off, we will be on the edge of our seats. We will be excited because you take away UFC action from us for about a month, and we're going to be very hungry as fight fans. Okay, but UFC 311, this is the card that we have marked on our calendars, and we have two title fights at the top of the card, two extremely high caliber matchups. I'm very excited for them. I want to preview them a little bit here, and I want to talk about my thoughts on these early betting lines, and I'll also take a quick glimpse at the line for Israel Adesanya and Nassourdine Imavov, which is a great fight too that was recently announced. So those are some of the bigger fights that we have to look forward to kicking the year off. And we'll briefly talk about Jamal Hill and Yuri Prochazka as well. That's a great fight. If you guys could just take a second to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, go catch me on all my social media. It means the world to me, guys. Your support really helps lift me to the next level, and I got some huge things on the horizon for 2025, as some of you guys have been hearing me talk about. Cannot wait to unravel them for you guys, but just that little bit of support and help that you guys can give me just by hitting that like button, give me a little early Christmas present, man. It'd mean the world to me. Just hit that like button, subscribe, guys. Come on. All right, I really appreciate you guys, and like I said, I cannot wait to show you the things that I'm working on. You guys are going to enjoy them so much. And last thing before we jump into the show, you guys know we are powered by BetUS. If anyone's looking to sign up to a new sports book, I can get you a 150% match on your first 3 deposits if you guys sign up through my referral link, and then I will give you guys an additional gift as well. If anyone's looking to do that, reach out to me, shoot me an email, or DM me on Instagram or Twitter. I got both those scrolling below.
The teller.
So Merab finally gets his hands on the gold. Dethroned Sean O'Malley not too long ago. You guys know that was a free official play that I posted here on the channel, and it was also a huge official play for me. Okay, I loved the stylistic matchup there against Sugar Sean O'Malley, but let's cut right to the chase. I think this is a stylistic nightmare for Merab because Umar Nurmagomedov is so well-rounded. I believe he's going to be able to stifle and defend a lot of that wrestling attack that we're going to see Merab try to bring to the table. And then when it comes to the stand-up, when it comes to the striking, I think that Umar is on a completely different wavelength here. We saw even in Merab's last fight against Sean O'Malley, after he was getting takedowns and he was having opportunities to wear Sean down, once that fight was back up on the feet, right, we saw the 5th round, he just had nothing for Sean. He was running away. He was on his back foot. His striking, although we've seen it grow slightly throughout the years, I want to be very clear. I think that Umar is going to be on a completely different level there. And I actually think it's very likely that Nurmagomedov gets the finish via strikes in this matchup. All right, just stuffing those takedowns, making Merab work on the feet. Merab pushes a high pace as well. Okay, so you're going to see these men clashing. It's not going to be one of those slower paced Nurmagomedov fights, in my opinion. I think that we see some real action taking place here, and you're going to see a lot of opportunities for Nurmagomedov to shine with his sharper skill set there. Now, when Merab faces that danger there on the feet, there's also a very likely scenario where he rushes and forces his wrestling, and I think that he could also fall into a submission because Nurmagomedov is very talented there as well. I know he hasn't had any subs as of recently, at least in his last 4 fights. Went to a decision 3 times out of his last 4. Let's not forget the brutal KO victory that he had over Raoni Barcelos. But he's a fighter that had 3 submissions in a row leading into making his UFC debut against Sergey Morozov. Submitted him there via rear naked choke. Submitted Brian Kelleher via rear naked choke. Okay, so the rear naked choke threat is a real one, but I think that we'll even start to see his overall submission skills sharpen up over time. He's just 28 years old, and he's training with the best of them. He's going to look better and better. And we've seen Merab kind of face adversity in that type of situation before, right? I mean, he was submitted by Ricky Simone. I know that was a very awkward finish. If you guys remember how that fight finished up, he was essentially finished after the final bell rung, right? He was unconscious. He couldn't get up, and they did stop that fight. So no matter how you spin it, whether it's KO or sub, I'm liking a finish here. Okay, we can kind of dissect that more if you guys really want a concrete answer there. I'm actually going to go with the KO. I'm going to go with the KO, and I've seen a lot of people leaning more towards the sub. I'm going to say he gets a knockout on Merab. We've never seen Merab knocked out before, but this could just be one of those nightmare stylistic matchups. And Umar Nurmagomedov, I'll tell you what, guys, I think that in the near future, we're going to be talking about him as the greatest bantamweight of all time. Now, the bantamweight division is a division that's been a little bit more shallow compared to the rest. When you talk about having that fighter just clearly at the top, I mean, the fact that people were arguing that Aljamain Sterling was or is the greatest bantamweight of all time says it all. Okay, especially when you actually dissect his title run and his defenses and all that. Don't get me started, guys, because you guys know I will go off. But people were arguing that Sterling is or was the greatest bantamweight of all time. I mean, that explains everything. I mean, I have Dominic Cruz as the greatest bantamweight. If you take into consideration what he was doing for the WEC, working his way into the UFC, and he's had his struggles. He's taken his fair share of losses. I think that Umar can make a run in this division for the next 2, 3, 4 years and really cement himself as the most dominant and best talent that we've ever seen in this division. And I think that he's going to run through Merab. And it's crazy, man, because I was just backing Merab on that huge underdog play, and I have a lot of respect for Merab and what he brings to the table. But stylistically, good luck at spamming your wrestling against a fighter like Umar. Now, he opened up as a minus 280, did Umar, and he's now at minus 270, the line coming down. So I'm hoping that that trend continues because I'm really wanting to have some action on Umar here. I really do. Even with a high line like this, if I'm mixing it into a two-team parlay or something like that, I want to have action on Umar here because I feel very confident he's going to get the job done here. Not too worried about the step up in competition. I'm telling you guys, that's how I feel about this one. So I kid you not, I literally just had a dream about this fight about 2 days ago. Okay, I woke up. I was kind of in that fog of just opening my eyes, and I was having a dream that Arman Tsarukyan, who is still in the real world, is a pretty damn big underdog going into this fight. I had a dream that I knew where his line was, right around that plus 250 range or whatnot, and I was looking at the live line, here on my computer, and I was seeing that Arman Tsarukyan was closing as a favorite. And then I was really mad because I said to myself, I knew that there was a crazy amount of value on his line. Everyone's jumping onto this, and now you see the line closing. He's the favorite now, and I'm like, oh, why didn't I lock in a huge bet on him when he was a plus 250? I knew it. I had a dream about that. Okay, guys, so take that for what you will as we get over to the betting odds here in a little bit. But this is a rematch. Arman Tsarukyan, to me, is without a doubt one of the best talents in this weight class. The fact that he came in, I see people kind of gloss over this fact, but they don't really hit it hard. The fact that he made his UFC debut at 22 years old against Islam Makhachev, who's a very established fighter at the time. Okay, he was hitting on all cylinders around that time. He was not the same fighter that he is today. I would definitely say that he's grown. I mean, he's shown a lot of evolution too. He's going out there knocking fighters out left and right. So we've seen a lot of growth from him. Okay, but he was a much more mature fighter than Arman was at the time at just 22 years old. And that, to me, was the most competitive fight that we've ever seen Makhachev participate in. Yeah, a lot of people are going to say, oh yeah, what about the fight that he lost where he was knocked out? Okay, I mean, that fight, that was different, man. He got caught with the shot. He got knocked out against the Brazilian in Adriano Martins. I remember that fight vividly, okay? I remember the party was just getting kicked off, and I was doing some research about Islam, hearing a lot of good things about him. He was starting to get his UFC career under his feet there, and it was a big upset. And I remember watching that knockout loss and being like, oh, wow, damn, the party got shook up. But make no mistake, that fight barely took place. It took place for 1 minute and 46 seconds, okay? Martins, props to him for landing that KO, but Makhachev, he made a mistake there, and he learned from that mistake. And if that fight would have played out for the long haul, Makhachev would have took over. He would have dominated. And if they fight 100 times, I would say Makhachev wins that fight. Even back then, would have won the fight 97 out of 100 times, okay? So, lightning struck there, okay? If you want to say that was the most competitive fight, okay, be my guest and do so. But besides that, Makhachev has pretty much dominated everybody except for that first fight with Volkanovski. But look how he looked in the rematch. And I just think that you got to give Arman a lot of credit for coming in to that fight at 22 years old, taking the fight on short notice as well. At 22 years old, taking the fight on short notice against one of the best talents that we've ever seen. Okay, a fighter that a lot of people believe right now to be the best pound-for-pound fighter in the world. Okay, if you don't give Arman just so much credit for that performance, I don't know what to tell you. I mean, besides that, he's been flawless. I had him winning that fight against Mateusz Gamrot. I was really disappointed with the decision there. I thought that he definitely won that fight, although it was a great match. Okay, a 25-minute war. I thought that he clearly won that fight. And if you take a look at the media's the decision on who won that fight, the vast majority did have Arman Tsarukyan winning that fight too. So that wasn't a true L. Okay, and even if you want to say he slightly lost that fight, which I think you're wrong, the performance that he showed was just amazing. Okay, he was still very young at the time too. That fight took place almost 3 years ago, 3 years ago. He was still a young fighter, and the learning experience that he had in that cage. I mean, they went to war, the pace they pushed. I mean, and then after that, he goes out there, defeats Charles Oliveira. Beneil Dariush gets the finish on Dariush in the first round, knocks out Joaquim Silva like he should have, defeated Damir Ismagulov, a very talented and underrated fighter. I mean, Arman is just a beast, man. He's 28 years old. We haven't even seen near the best version of him, which that's one of the most interesting things for me here. I think you guys know where I'm going with this. Now, listen, I'm going to say this. We're going to get over to the betting line. I'm going to say the value without a doubt is on Arman Tsarukyan, just as my dream was telling me. To get him at plus 250, I think that's a steal here. I think this fight's a very close one. The first one was very close. You saw the scrambles and wrestling exchanges. I mean, they were so competitive and so close. The striking from Arman has developed very much so, even though we've seen Islam develop there a lot too. I just think that this fight can go a lot of different ways in a 25-minute type of affair. I could see these men going to war. Anything could happen here. Maybe Arman Tsarukyan hits him with the head kick. I don't know. I don't know if I'm willing to sit here right now this early on and pick Arman to win this fight. But I just want to tell you guys, if you're looking to lock in your bets early, or if you're looking to mix in action with this fight, I think you have to be on the Arman Tsarukyan side. And I may even settle in with him as my pick to win the fight. Okay, I know a lot of you might think that's crazy. Islam, the pound-for-pound best fighter in the world, arguably him or John Jones. But Arman's the real deal. And then you guys, real quick, let's take a look at a couple other lines. Yuri Prohaska is a minus 130. He's a slight favorite over Jamal Hill. No movement going on right now over on BetUS. I like Yuri to win that fight. It's a very close fight. Where the line is right now, I don't see a crazy amount of value. Either way, it's a close fight. You could almost argue maybe potentially if you're getting plus action next to Hill, that's where the value is. But I want to dive more into this matchup. I want to see how they're looking fight week and whatnot. But Yuri is one of the most mentally tough fighters in the world. One of the most mentally tough fighters that we've ever seen in the history of the sport. Jamal Hill is coming off a very tough knockout loss. I'm very interested to see how he looks here, stepping back in there against a machine like Yuri. But I like Yuri here. And hopefully Yuri's changing some things up and learning from some of the losses that he's taken. Needs to sharpen up his defense, but he brings in some wild intangibles, and I could see him getting a knockout on Hill. Beneil Dariush is the dog against Renato Moicano. I think the value's in the dog there. Taking a quick look at that one, I do like the value on Dariush. You guys know Moicano, the interesting character. We've looked to fade him at times, and he continuously gets away with murder in there. I think Dariush could be one of those fighters that kind of puts a halt to that if he fights an intelligent fight. And then I just want to pull this last one up real quick. This is a great fight that was recently announced. Israel Adesanya taking on Nassourdine Imavov, the main event of a card that's really shaken up. You got MVP taking on Nurmagomedov on that event as well. I'm very excited for that fight. Magomedov is a minus 150 roughly right now against MVP. Great fight. That's going to be a stand-up war. I think the value's in the dog there with MVP. And as far as the Adesanya fight goes, I'm liking the dog value on Imavov. I think that he is just flourishing as a fighter as of recently. He's taken major strides in his game while Adesanya is getting up there in age. Okay, fell short in that DDP fight. We'll see where he's at mentally, but I like the value in the dog. And Imavov, he continuously shows up and shines. He's one of the dark horses of the division, so that's a great fight there. So you guys know the routine by now. Meet me in the comment section. Let me know where it was wrong, where it was right. I want to know where your money's going. We got a lot of time for these lines to move around. Okay, we have 4 to 5 weeks, even longer in the case for some of these specific fights we talked about. So a lot of time for the lines to move around. Let me know where you guys see the value as of now. Okay, we're taking a look down the line here, and we'll start to do this more often. I really want to start to eye some of these fights well ahead of time, well, we can dissect the early and opening lines and then see how they move and whatnot. I've gotten a lot of feedback from you guys wanting to see more of that, and you guys will see more of that. Just one of the many things that you're going to start to see here at the channel. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Wish you guys all a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year, and all that. All right, guys, I appreciate you very much. Signing out. Teller.
The teller. The teller. The teller.